So my name is Erendina Delgadillo. I work at a place called La Plaza de Cultura y Arte, and it's in Los Angeles, California. We're a cultural organization, a cultural arts institution, but we're actually a museum. And we opened in 2011. And our mission, although we're in the process of revising it, is to celebrate the accomplishments and the history of Mexicans and Mexican Americans in Los Angeles and Southern California. So we do that mostly through K through 12 educational programming, some public programming, and also exhibitions. I realized that I was more interested in working directly with people rather than sort of developing scholarship and working more from an ivory tower. Like I wanted that connection between people and myself, or the work that I'm doing and the public that I'm doing it for, to be as minimal as possible. And so the public humanities seemed to fit that description pretty well. And I really, really appreciated the focus on audience and the focus on being both receptive to that audience and a vehicle for that audience to be able to tell their own stories. Like having evaluation in every exhibition, like knowing what your audience thinks of an exhibit, and the fact that that kind of evaluative technique or tool doesn't have to be very clean cut and sort of polished. It can be something as simple as like drop a token here or draw something here on the wall. I mean, within reason. But people I find are very resistant to new ideas. That's been challenging. Cultural heritage. I think for us at La Plaza, it would have to be something that we call, and many people call, untold stories. What I'm interested in, in sort of exploring, is the way that Latinos are portrayed in mass media in the United States, right? Because we have our own media sources in our own countries that can be more diverse, right? I mean, not always, but I think they can be more diverse than the way that Latinos are portrayed in American media. And I'm sort of concerned that all that's being sort of portrayed of Latino culture in the United States is purely aesthetic. So we're looking at folklorico dancers, we're looking at calaveras, we're looking at Dia de los Muertos things without really, so that's all sort of being shown, right? There's this new book of Life that's coming out about kind of like a calavera exploration of Dia de los Muertos in Mexico, whatever. So, but all of that is purely aesthetic. So we're looking only at things that look like they might be Mexican, look like they might be Latino, but the actual, to me, it's form over function. So the way that it looks, just because you are wearing a calavera mask doesn't mean that you understand the history of the Dia de los Muertos, the significance, the importance, all of the cultural patrimony that comes along with it. And to me, what's especially dangerous about that is that people think that aesthetics are the same thing as culture outside of the Latino community. And then within the Latino community, I feel like because we already know the cultural significance of these images, we think that portraying these images is also okay. We're not concerned with the fact that someone is wearing a calavera mask and they don't know anything about Day of the Dead, because we think that because they're wearing the mask, they know something about Day of the Dead. If you look at the disconnect between the politics, right, they'll take our chips and salsa and they'll take our costumes, but they won't take our people and our bodies, or our political freedoms. That disconnect to me is very scary. And I'd like to really sort of figure out how to tell that story, that complicated story, in a way that's controversial, but a place for conversation within the museum that I'm working at. What I'm actually going to suggest to our new CEO is that we have a community sort of council, because we have a programming committee that's part of our executive board, but they're made up of all Latinos, which is okay, but they're mostly made up of corporate sort of vice presidents and sort of high-level administrators from like Pepsi and Walmart and Bank of America and U.S. Bank. So that's great for funding, but for them to chair a program committee, to me, doesn't really make sense. So what I'd like to see is like a monthly meeting of people from within the community, like a few, and I'd say community starting out small, right, to not overwhelm ourselves. So there's an area of East LA called Boyle Heights, um, and that's going through a really big resurgence right now. There are a lot of, it's traditionally like a low-income Latino community, but there are a lot of people who are sort of my age who have been educated and they're coming back to the community and they're sort of trying to revitalize it and bring the arts and get people politically motivated. So I think it would be great to sort of start there and pick a few key players. There's a man who started a newspaper. There's another woman who started a playhouse. There's another man who started a bar that's a very popular area. So I think to sort of have a community council of those people to talk about our programming, to talk about what they're doing, and to sort of collaborate on like a one-to-one basis would be a really great idea. And then on top of that, I'd really like to see us sort of hold public forum about, sort of have like a huge open discussion about what it means to have arts in our area of the city. So we have a very big building. We have a pretty big endowment. Um, we have beautiful facilities, and I think it's like half an acre, like historic buildings, lots of resources. So to me, we can sort of exchange. We can provide the resources to collaborate, but I don't think that that means that they should be on our terms. I don't think that that means that we can determine the content or that we can determine what kinds of things community members want to do at our museum, what kinds, like how they want to sort of engage with their public. So I'd like to sort of see us open ourselves and be more transparent to the community while also sort of stepping back and not taking a leadership position. I think a fun fact about being a public human would probably be that no one knows what it is. So it's sort of fun to explain to people what it means and to see them have a sort of look on their face like, I don't understand what that is. Where did you come from? What's going on? But it always sparks a conversation. And to me, what's most exciting is it sparks a conversation about what a museum is and what it should be. And I feel like everyone has an opinion about that. So I sort of enjoy the conversation that it's forced to have.